get the tractor beam out of commission, or this is going to be a real short trip. Okay, hit it!
Hey there, everyone. How's it going? What's up, Jason?
Good evening.
Good evening. Sorry for the late start. I got home just a couple minutes ago, also, and usually later is better for me. But tonight, earlier was better for you.
Yeah, but I got slammed with that storm, so everything kind of blacked out. Yeah, wasn't sure if I wasn't sure if I was gonna be able to get on.
Really?
Yeah. So it's been going pretty hardcore for like the last hour and a half.
How bad?
It's kind of settling down now, but it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got hit pretty hard. I was talking to you on the phone, and I had to actually pull over because I couldn't see a single thing. There was raining that bad. But I don't think people care about that. But tonight we're just doing a little impromptu, which is usually what we do with this show. Is there's no real rhyme or reason when we do it. We just kind of do it whenever it works for both of us, right?
Yep.
Or even when it works for John too, when he's available in the morning. But we were like talking about it, and we're like, well, what do you want to talk about? And I was like, I don't care. We could just go on and shoot shit about anything. And you had suggested McQuarrie stuff because it is his birthday the last couple days ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was a good idea. And I've just been downloading some pictures before we hopped on, just so we can kind of have something to talk about. Mostly, I think we're gonna kind of concentrate on McQuarrie ships, right? So, because that's kind of what our passion is. It's the ships for Star Wars more so than anything else. And you've always been a fan of McQuarrie. I've been aware of him and appreciated his artwork. Never really got all that crazy about it until recently.
It's been interesting to see the surge in popularity. I'll be honest, I've been collecting McQuarrie stuff for over 20 years. More heavily in the last 15 or so. I think around 2009, 10 is when I started really diving deep into like trying to get different books, magazines, any type of like print interviews I could find, images, references, any things that were made and manufactured, like when the 3.75-inch figures were made. The ships
that was
a
while ago. That was a pretty long while ago when that came out.
There's been quite a few things over the years. I remember the Sideshow statues dropped, and they were so unpopular that they put them at like a highly discounted price, and even then they still wouldn't sell. And I jumped on those, but models, I'm collecting any type of models, and it's just I think it was interesting around the time we started the show. Even then, I would bring up McQuarrie stuff, and people would just kind of, if it wasn't in the movie, I'm not really a fan, and it doesn't really, I can't really relate to it. And then now, like, people just McQuarrie, and it's not a bad thing. I mean, I actually like seeing that. I like seeing this new level of interest and this new resurgence, because I tell you, man, when you're into something like that, there's different things, right? People are into found parts and models and costuming and helmets. And, there's all these individual isolated things you can be into. But for the longest time, I felt like the cheese who stands alone. There really weren't many people, if at all, that you could bounce things off of. Even if it came down to like a set of micro machines, where you're like, wow, these are different, these are cool, these are concept. People didn't care. So it was always looked at as like a novelty versus like a an actual thing that you could really be into. So I think it's nice. I think it's a good change.
The only McQuarrie stuff that I ever had was the those figures, and I didn't even get all of them because a lot of them I didn't really care for. I didn't really care. Like, I'll be honest. Like, so let's just pull up this picture. Like, this is a famous picture. Let me download it so it looks better. Maybe. But like they look kind of weird to me. Like, even though they're like, people now you see like, let's see if I can find a good picture of it. I can bring it up so I can download it and show it. There it is. This is kind of what it is, but you'll know what I'm talking about. What is that? That is not what I downloaded. Okay. It says Jennifer Lawrence in the title of what this is, but it's not. Okay. Wait, I'm going to be able to do this. Present, share screen. Here we go again.
We already having technical difficulties with StreamYard?
No, it's just too many steps you got to do. So if you're looking at this picture, right? Like, I never looked at these figures and thought I would want any of these. Like the Star Killer, the guy who looked the Han Solo character that looks like George Lucas, and the girl Luke Skywalker, and
looks like Marsha Lucas.
It looks like Marsha Lucas, and Chewbacca kind of looks like now Phil Tippett. So
Phil Tippett, yeah, he was actually artwork for the book cover of previous work that Ralph had done.
But like, I saw this and I had zero interest in these figures. The cooler ones like the Snowtrooper and Boba Fett, and I'm trying to think what other ones were really tickle my fancy.
See, I was the opposite. When I saw these, I was chomping at the bit to get these.
Really?
No. Yeah. I was super excited for these.
And really, there wasn't any collectibles out other than those 3 3/4, and then eventually Gentle Giant made the busts, and then Kotobukiya made that Vader Luke statue kind of thing, and then Sideshow started.
There was a few things. There were the Power of the Force line figures came first. Then these came. The Power of the Force line came with the vehicles, the Snow Speeder and the Speeder Bike. There were those. There was the Micro Machines. Those came out. So there was a few things sprinkled here and there. Then there used to be some small little giveaways. In addition to the Kotobukiya, Vader and Luke, which is a little bit later on. That was a Celebration exclusive they did. A limited number for Japan, a limited number for the States. But they're both the same figure. It's just the numbered edition is different. Then there was a bust, a small Vader bust that was made. I have that as well. Because, again, all this stuff was easy to get at the time because there was no competition. Then EFX worked with Jay Kashiwara, and they did the McQuarrie Vader, which is a grill piece. I mean, that thing is phenomenal.
The EFX one. The helmet.
The EFX one. Then you had Voodoo, which did the custom hilts. That was well over 10, 12 years ago. And they did the Luke and Vader McQuarrie hilts. And so there were some things. But like I said, I mean, everything was so easily accessible because people didn't really care for them and people didn't really understand them or people didn't really want them. Like you said, it was something that just, I think many people would agree with what you said. It just didn't tickle their fancy, so it wasn't something that they were going to invest time or money into.
No, I had zero interest in it. But now though, I mean, we've been looking at the same Star Wars things for how long now, right? It's the same exact thing. I mean, there's a ton of Vader statues. There's a ton of Boba Fett statues, but it's actually pretty cool now to see something different. That's kind of why I like it now, because it still is what you originally like, but it's just a little different. And a little bit more almost, I'd say, 70s sci-fi looking than what Star Wars ended up turning out to be in. But what you and I were talking about a long time ago was the misconception that McQuarrie kind of came up with all these concepts on his own. Um, and I'm sure other people have thought of this before we did, but you and I were talking one day, and we're like, you know, these ships look a little too spot on with the kit parts and it almost looks like they had a model sitting in front of them. There's just no way McQuarrie's going to draw these kit parts on here, and then the ILMers are going to miraculously find model kit parts that fit exactly what McQuarrie drew, right?
Correct.
But it's always been
Oh.
touted that he started it. Like he was the concept. All this stuff came from his brain. But
Correct. And one thing that does get misconstrued at times is because there are images at him at his work desk drawing pieces and then having parts of a model. And what people don't realize is right after the first movie, McQuarrie was doing a lot of package design. He was doing a lot of book work. There's the famous pop-up book. There's other books, everything from merchandising from coloring books to again boxing and packaging design, anything Star Wars related, where he worked on a lot of that. So a lot of that stuff came later, where you know the design was sort of in his from his mind first. But you're right, when it came to these studies that got changed and repainted over, yeah, basically what they would do was, as you mentioned, they would kit bash a piece, and then he would use that as any artist would, a basket of fruit as a as a as a subject to paint, and so on and so forth. So he would use these models and place them in front of him, and use them as the subject and paint them.
so this is kind of the picture. This one and the Y wing are the two that really put our brains in motion. Because there's a couple pictures like this of different Falcons. There's the original one that looks like the blockade runner. Then there's this one, and then there's one that looks like the Falcon that we know, right?
Mhm.
So basically, like as they were evolving the models, the McQuarrie would take them and put them into settings like this, so you could see what would look best. Um, my question is, like, is there three separate paintings out there, or is there like one that he painted over, or what is the? How did that work? Do you have an idea of that?
So usually, what you would have, with an artist like McQuarrie, you would have basically the conceptual part where he's sketching it out. Okay, that's before you get to the painting. But sometimes the painting will remain in different formats. You have what's called a study. A study is something that looks like a finished painting, or could actually be a finished painting, but the study is basically, this is the first run of it, right? Then a revision is made, and he may make a an exact, not exact copy, but a very similar copy to that, just as a second painting. But from what I gather, looking at some of these things, and again, this is just my opinion from not only understanding McQuarrie's work, but also having 20 plus years of studying art. For example, that TIE Fighter piece, right? Where you're looking at the TIE Fighter from the back, where the Death Star changes and the Y Wing changes. That's just him going in and basically repainting over what he originally painted.
Right.
Um, so I'm sure he also may have used, similar to what you see like in
This one.
cell drawings for cartoons. Yeah, he could have potentially like had the main image repainted and then just had the different cell drawings that he painted over in acrylic and laid it, had like an overlay, and that overlay would have the different Death Star, the different Millennium Falcon, so on and so forth. So there's different processes there, right? Because like this was used for, I think, one of the first, um, adverts, maybe a magazine or newspaper cover where it has the original Star Wars, font, and it's this image, and I think it was the first one that was ever produced, and that has the lettering painted and overlaid over the image. So some of them he just straight up repainted, and then
Yeah.
some of them you do have variations of the same painting that exist, as he just went back in and, oh, I'm going to repaint the same scene but with a different ship. So there's a difference. There's a balance of both that exists.
Right. I Now you have also been collecting models for a little while of McQuarrie. You have a couple of them, right? How many do you have? Two.
McQuarrie stuff.
Yeah, McQuarrie stuff. I know I have one. It's John's little A-wing McKay. He painted that for, and I bought that off of him, which I
I
actually love that.
got about 6 pieces in total.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But the more like, okay, so here's another example. Hold on, let me bring this up. Save this image. I like saving them better than trying to bring up tabs. That kind of ruins it for me a little bit because I can't like zoom in on them. So let's check this one. This one. The Y-Wing. So here again is a Cantwell Y-Wing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we all know that didn't end up in the movies, but and then there was one that was a Joe Johnson one painting, and then there was the Gold Leader as we know it now, right? There's 3 of them again. I think it's just fascinating I mean, think about the time it took to actually paint this thing. You know, like this looks almost exactly like the model. There's you know what I mean? Like McQuarrie didn't think of this on his own, and then Cantwell put the pieces together. You know what I'm saying? I'm waiting for Eaton to do these. I'm waiting for him to do a cast of this because I actually really love this. This is about the only Cantwell piece that I really want. Oh well, I'll tell you though. Go ahead.
I was gonna say another thing to be taken into consideration is that just like they built models to use for reference for stage reference to build, a 1-to-1 scale, whatever, for shooting a scene. Models are probably built just to provide for the artist like McQuarrie or Joe for storyboard and other purposes, paintings, concepts, for visuals, whether it was to show the studio or show the production team. It wasn't always like, hey, let's build this model and let's decide whether or not it makes the cut to make it on screen. Some of these models may have just, its sole purpose may have initially just been for, the purpose of creating a visual that everybody can see, because you don't want to take a model around and pass it to 100 different people for production purposes. Whereas if you have a painting, you build a model, give it to Ralph or Joe, they paint it, and now you can reproduce this image and pass that around. And this way you can say, hey, this segment of the story or this part of this shoot or this part of the scene is going to be this and look like that, and now people are able to visualize it. So that's also a thing that is very helpful and different. That again, it's I think for a while it was that whole what came first, the chicken or the egg. But now that that's kind of been decided, I think it's interesting to kind of get in a little bit deeper as to the who, what, why, where, when, and how.
Are you clicking things?
I'll just click on one thing now.
Okay. One of my favorites, and this actually is one of my favorites because outside of me being a fanatic for the Sandcrawler, I love the McQuarrie Sandcrawler. I absolutely love it. One day, hopefully, I'll build one. Jason Eaton's piece, McQuarrie Sandcrawler, was freaking out of this world. But I mean, so like a starter shirt here, it kind of looks just like a regular starter shirt, not much different,
That painting you just showed too, with them going down the street, that has actually a great story behind it. I'll share later.
I'll share it now.
It's a fun one. No, it's a whole to do, but it's got a fun little fun. There's a reason why I painted it that way.
This is an advertisement or something? No. Okay. See, but like this looks weird to me. Like the Tauntaun looks a little bit too relaxed for getting its throat cut. And
it does, but it's not too far off. And had it been this, we wouldn't have known any better.
That's true. But this looks like this is a
He
very
looks more humanoid. Yeah.
yeah. This looks like something out of like Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
And there's some things that I really like about McQuarrie. Like this, I don't care for that much. But like this is really
Yeah.
nice.
Love that.
I love this too. It's it's very similar, but a little bit different. That's why I like it so much. Um, Gas mine, which was never used. Oh yeah, it was you could see it like in the distance, right?
Hmm.
Beautiful piece. This I don't recognize. Is this from like Blade Runner or something?
Not too sure.
It
Not
came
sure if
up under. It, there was
this might
a
have Battlestar Galactica, or it could have just been some of his art. I don't know if this definitely doesn't look Star Wars related to me.
yeah, but when I was looking when I found a page on StarWars.com, they were doing Empire Strikes Back McQuarrie pictures, and this was one of them.
Oh, it could just be what areas of Hoth look like, or yeah.
Yeah, it's a strange one. It's very different than let's say this. You know,
Yeah, I always like this image. I always like this little two-legged animal that he's on, and I always like the chin guns on these four walkers there, four-legged walkers.
they're pretty cool looking walkers too. They're different.
Yeah.
They look a lot like well this part here is on the Republic gunship for Attack of the Clones.
Hmm.
And then this kind of looks like the Imperial Troop Transport, the toy that was never in the movie.
Yeah.
And this almost looks like a sandcrawler, like a McQuarrie sandcrawler too. That'd be a cool one to just scratch build, try to figure out.
Yeah, I know Joe was more heavily influenced by Sid Mead when he was actually executing his designs, but McQuarrie was, I think, pretty influenced by him as well. But just McQuarrie had more of his own hand, but you can see some of Sid's work and influence in that previous image.
Yeah, this and McQuarrie's is very like fantasy, whimsical, whereas Joe's was very greedy, um, more
Joe's was definitely more mechanistic and
yes.
definitely more yeah, fine line work and clean. Yeah.
This is a cool piece too. This would be a cool
Yeah,
piece.
this is great. I 10 years ago, I forget who it was. I might even put this picture up in one of the modeling groups. Somebody had made a custom version of this, and it looked fantastic. It wasn't very big. It was only about 8 inches tall, but I remember somebody making a model of this, and it was great looking.
It'd be a pretty decent, easy one to do.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. Some detail in there that you know.
Maybe I'll just use the ion cannon of yours that I've had for like a year and just slice it and use the top and globe. Good idea.
There you go.
Um, okay, so this is actually one of my favorite prints from Celebration, and it has the Cantwell TIE Fighter over here, which surprisingly, that this is a very heavy metal kind of. It's got like spikes and shit.
Yeah.
Um, oh my god, make sure my dog stopped barking. They're gonna do it anyways. But like I actually have this one hanging up. I don't hang up a lot of prints, but this one I have hanging up. It's from Celebration, like 18, 19, something like that, or maybe earlier.
Yeah.
This is a lot more detailed than say like other things that he has too. You know what I mean? There's a lot more detail in this painting than a lot of the other ones.
I just like
Yeah,
that
that guy.
you can feel the mood, you can feel like the temperature, the time of day or night. Like I just like that it has
Do you have this print?
that ambience to it. I do, yeah.
Do you have it hanging up?
No, the only one I have the only one I have hanging up is I got the Vader versus Luke hanging up, and then I have, I think it's a Sandcrawler one where it goes from the grid design, like the sketch, to the painting. They did a series where and there was Celebration exclusives, but they did a series of paintings, I think 4 in total, where the image goes from the sketch or the study into the actual completed painting. It's like a half-half transition.
You have to send me a picture of that. I would love to see that.
Okay, yeah.
I'm still waiting for my Sandcrawler print from what's his name? I'll have to write him. See what's going on with that. Slave One.
Mm-hmm.
I've really only ever seen one person make one of these things. This is really bizarre looking.
Yeah.
It looks like an elephant's head. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of vehicles pictures. I wonder.
That's a great image.
It is.
I just love that scene too.
The scene in Empire, or just this picture?
No, both. I like it in Empire, and because I always found it interesting that they're like invited to a dinner and Vader. You know what I mean? Like Vader is at the head of the. I don't know. It's a unique scene. Vader's at the head of the table. It's kind of something you'd see in Game of Thrones. You know, you could walk in and be sidetracked by the villain.
I like Boba Fett in this image too. This is one of my favorite looks for him. Where do you all these? What's up, Chris? Where do you all these prints? Good quality. Oh, I found them on a StarWars.com.
They're online. Yeah.
Yeah, they're on StarWars.com. I just downloaded them. They are pretty good, actually. One thing I don't like is Yoda. His version of Yoda just never did it for me. Looks like some little old lady.
Yeah, his version. I'll agree. Of all the stuff that I am strongly a fan of, his version of Yoda is on the rough side.
Yeah, it's not good at all. Now that painting that he did, where he's in Dagobah with all the colors, that's really nice. The one that
that's one of my favorite. I have that too, the original, and that's one of my favorite images.
Yeah. Now this one, I never really took notice of it until it was in Mandalorian, and when it was in Mandalorian, I was like, "Oh shit, that's the freaking snow spider from McQuarrie." It was even though the episode wasn't that great, that was a cool.
Yeah, and there's more. There's some other images of the ice spiders with Luke. There's some other decent images out there, but they are interesting.
It's a little surprising is how many images there were of this, but it wasn't in the movie.
Correct. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, there's quite a few. Vader, it's kind of like McQuarrie Vader, like the helmet looking a little bit.
Yeah, this is where he starts to get closer and closer to the ideation that we see on screen.
Yeah, so even though so he did a lot of paintings for Star Wars, which there wasn't a whole lot of knowledge of what things were going to look like. But then Empire and Jedi, he knew who these characters were. So I'm just wondering why he drew them different than what was on screen.
Well, by the time you get the Empire, keep in mind, you still had certain things that weren't yet established. Okay, so like let's say you're looking at Luke, like Luke Besbin, he gave an idea of what Mark Hamill looked like, but it wasn't Mark Hamill specifically. It wasn't his likeness. It was an idea of Luke, right? And it's an idea of Luke and whatever fatigues he's wearing at that particular scene. Vader at the time had been established, so he drew Vader or painted Vader in as close to likeness as possible. But again, when an artist is working in that manner, they're doing it in a more broad way, because this way you're not trying to, again, like if you're doing package design or a book cover, something like that, you want to get the likeness of both the outfit, the face, etc., as close as you can. But if you're just doing a scene, it's a little bit more broad. It's a little bit more open ended, if you will. But
So
you're right. You would think that like at that point, a lot of the um, conceptualized aspects of the paintings would be very brought down significantly to
yeah,
a more limited fashion.
yeah. But I'll be honest with you. Okay, so let's take for example new Star Wars comics, right?
Hmm.
When when they really try to go photorealistic on the characters like Vader and and even the humans, especially the humans, I really don't like it. Like I like the comic book look of things so that it's almost like Into Spider-Verse, right?
Yeah,
The Into the Spider-Verse has a very distinct artistic style to it, right? And it's not realistic whatsoever. But it could be, but it's not. Um, I kind of I like the fact that it did stay more conceptualized throughout his artwork in Empire and Jedi, and didn't go more photorealistic. Do you follow me?
yeah,
This is a beautiful one. I
yeah. So
today's the
I
first.
was staring at it. It's a great one.
This is the first time I've seen this picture or have taken notice to it because it might be in that book that I have, but the pink and the brown and this is a beautiful print. If I saw this, I would buy it.
Yeah, it's a great image.
Have you seen this before?
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have. I gotta say proudly, I've put together quite a bit of McQuarrie reference and resources over the last 20 years, and there's some really interesting stuff out there. There's some great images that have never made it into books. There's some foreign books that were made that images have never made it into books that we've seen stateside. Or some of the really good stuff is very, very early on. If you look at some of the older magazines from the late 70s and early 80s, a lot of the interviews with Ralph and some of the publications. There's some great 3, 4, 8, 12 spread interviews with tons of images, and a lot of people used to buy the magazines then to get up close images of maybe some of the models or some of the hilts and things like that. But um, the ones with the interviews with Ralph, there's just some great images that have never been seen before, and some of them are in black and white, but some of them are in color. But there's some great stuff, and it really kind of takes you
I
back
re-
and
I recently took notice of this one, and I didn't think it was him because it's like I said, it's more photorealistic than his other stuff, right? Even the AT-AT is very very close to the real one, right? But these
well,
humans,
what's great about this though is this is an actual scene from the movie. I mean, this is
yeah,
pretty much yeah.
but it shows like this one's dead here, and this
Hmm.
one's dead here, and they're just overtaking the base already, and I didn't think it was. I thought somebody recently painted this to emulate his style a little bit, and this is very different than his usual style. Like I said, his stuff is very fantasy looking, whereas this is very more realistic.
Yeah.
This is a fun one for me.
Hmm.
Um, I just recently did a concept one of this, and I feel like it turned out pretty great. I don't have it anymore. I sold it to Joseph, but this is a fun one because of the whales. The whales aren't in Star Wars. They're in. Are they in Attack of the Clones? I think one of them comes flying out of the water, doesn't it?
I believe
In
so.
Attack
Yeah,
of the Clones.
because
Yeah,
there's a ton of McQuarrie reference throughout the prequels and throughout all the Disney Plus series, and you
especially
see a lot of
Rebels.
you see a lot of McQuarrie stuff.
Yeah, this was fun to build. It was a real fun one. Another one, like another Cloud City. It looks slightly different. Now, is this considered the white cloud car that like Lee has talked about before, or no? Is this still the orange one?
No, this looks either the blue or the orange, depending on the lighting.
Yeah. Now let's go back to this one. You and John both thought that this was blue
It
with.
no, I didn't think it's blue and gray. It's
Okay, you
100%
think
blue
that's
and
great
gray.
too.
It's gray. Yeah.
but I can see where John was saying to me that could be blue because if you look right here below this line, there's a blue, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, he was saying that there's a chance it could be blue, but
Yeah.
there's other images of this, and it's blue and gray.
Oh, is it?
Hmm.
Okay. I mean,
Yeah,
like this is totally gray. But he kind of made a point that the lights from the city may have been reflecting here to
yeah,
make this
that's
gray.
definitely if you look at the scenery around where you have sort of like a London sky, if you will, very gloomy and gray and rainy, and then you have a very grayscale city beneath it. It'd only be natural for those lights to bounce off and give a gray effect, but it's two tone, and there's one or two other images with this, and there's a couple sketches where it isn't as nicely painted, but it's kind of scratch colored in, meaning like it's just a quick color, and you see the top half blue and the bottom half just kind of shaded, which makes me think that it's two tone blue gray.
I wouldn't like it so much if it was all blue because I've seen two people make one of these, and they made it all blue, and it just don't look right. I think the blue and the gray, like offset each other real well, so it makes it look better. You pointed out to me that there's two different helmets here. I didn't
Yeah.
notice that.
Yep.
Yep.
And there are other. I think another reason why a lot of people think that that's all blue is if you look at some of the products that were released. I think there was the small vehicles. I don't know if it was Kenner, Hasbro, Micro Machine, whoever did it, but they did them all blue. And then there was another toy that was done in McQuarrie, concept fashion, if you would, and that was all blue. And again, yeah, you could argue that the the city below plus the gloomy sort of rainy environment around it is bouncing off, creating that gray effect. So I mean, but again, it's that artistic liberty because there are images where it's all blue, but the thing that makes me believe it's two tones, like I said, there's two other images to coincide with this that show the two tone.
Yeah. I don't think I built another one, but it was fun though. A lot of cloud car. There was a lot of cloud car pictures drawn that I know. I mean, I've seen a lot of them. Sketches, paintings, quite a few.
Hmm.
Now you have an orange one, right?
Correct. Yep.
That's a white one. That's the white one that he's talking
It's
about,
the
right?
white. Yep.
Okay.
And it's nice to see that there was the idea of, Besbin being sort of a larger environment with a variation of cloud cars, just like there were X wings and Y wings. There was a variation of styles and colors.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
seeing the same thing as a cloud car, that there was a variation of them.
More AT-ATs and snow speeders. Now Hasbro did a little version of this, didn't they?
Correct. Yep. This is the one I was
Yeah.
talking about in the earlier part of the Force line. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not too bad. It's actually pretty well done for a $15 toy. Yeah.
Yeah. Snow troopers inside. I never noticed that before either.
Hmm.
It'd be a cool one to scratch. But like, I don't know. I'm just getting to the point where I just want to scratch build everything. I want to like. I'm working on a McQuarrie piece right now, and it's very well done. Like it's such a good piece. Can't wait to start painting it and see what it looks like when it's painted. I don't remember this one, but there's no ships in it, so we don't really care. Uh, how about I want to bring up that Sandcrawler one too. Now, Merlin Models actually has this as a concept one that they're planning on coming out with. I hope they
Correct.
do because I like the concept ones that they had listed. Look at this weird tauntaun back here, more lizard than anything.
Yeah, similar to the same two-legged character that's in that battle scene with the AT-ATs.
Yeah, Galoob. Stuart said it was Galoob that had the
Galoob,
blue.
okay, I was Galoob that had the blue.
Yeah, there's a lot more color in these concept ships than in on well not bright colors.
And there's a lot
Like
more detail in these ships. I know a couple people 3D printed these up, and I look at them all the time, and I'm like, look, the guns and engines look all right, but otherwise, I'm like, they miss so much on them.
yeah,
And I'm not knocking them. I'm just like,
yes you are.
No, I'm not. You really got to look at the reference detail because
Yes,
um,
you are.
those are pieces that I've been working on for a while on scratch building those concepts and those speeders.
Are you?
Yeah, you know that.
I knew about the regular snow speeder. I didn't know about the concept ones.
Yeah, you know that those were being done as well.
This was one of Matt's favorite prints, right?
Hmm.
Oh, there. That's Justin, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. I'm gonna do 3 concept snow speeders and a screen use snow speeder.
Hmm.
Hell yeah, Justin. Let's do it. I'm game. And they're smaller too. They're what, 12 inches, right? Justin? I think
Well,
that's
the
what I
screen
remember.
screen uses is true to size, going to be scaled down, and then
Yeah.
the concept ones will be, yeah, I think around
They're so
10,
honky.
10,
The
10 to
screen
12,
use
10,
one.
10 to 12 inches.
The screen use one is huge, right?
It's not huge, but it's bigger than most people would expect. Everybody's so used to the little one, right? That you
The
see,
little
like the
Hasbro one.
NPC, little NPC one, or Hasbro one. I'd say it's a little bit bigger than the master replicas. I mean, it's not huge. I just think it's one of those vehicles that people envision being this cute little handheld piece, but it's a decent size.
Yeah, the Hasbro one's about 12 inches. It's like perfect size. Like we've talked about this before. I don't want a honkin' snow speeder. I don't want a honkin' cloud car. I don't want a honkin' A-wing either. I feel like the bigger ships should be ships that are more like Falcons, Sandcrawler, Slave One. I want a little A-wing. I want a little cloud car. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That fits on the shelf. They will be 124 scale, same scale as X-wing. Okay, but the X-wing is a larger ship though than the snowspeeder, so it'll be smaller than the X-wing, right? Here's a picture. I didn't know McQuarrie knew Paulie.
yeah.
Looks just like him, almost. Paul's probably not ever gonna watch this show. I
I
like
love
this
this
Iron Cannon.
image. I like
So
that
do
a lot.
I. Surprised I like this as much as I do. Um, Hell, you could take that ion cannon and make this.
Yeah, good. Yeah,
You know,
you're right. Yeah.
yeah, it'd be better base than the big, huge one that I made before. And you wouldn't even have to put snow on it. It could be like a white rock,
Yeah, just a chunk of
right?
ice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Why
not
do
a
I have
bad
a
idea.
feeling I seen somebody do this before? I feel like I've seen somebody do this McQuarrie version of the Iron Cannon.
I
I'm
have too.
pretty sure. Pretty sure I have.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen somebody do it. The one, the ion cannon, the Jason Eaton one. It's pretty big. You'd have to make a big stand like this for it. It's not a bad idea. Shave off all the stuff and just have a globe like this. Pretty good idea. More realistic
That's such a
tauntaun.
classic. That's such a classic image right there.
Yeah. This was almost finished product too.
That's
Thicker
another one
tail.
where you can just feel the environment. You can feel like the crisp cold just hit your skin, and
Yep. Yeah, the McQuarrie stuff. Uh, Justin, man, make them all. We'll take them all. Honestly, like you guys, I keep saying over and over again. I really want you guys to succeed because the stuff you're working on is freaking top notch. It's gorgeous. It's so nice to not have to clean all that. I'm, doing a build video for the X-wing, and like, there's no cleanup. There's none, and it's the McQuarrie X-wing, and I have a sand crawlers that I'm making that are garage kits, and there's so many little freaking boogers in the machinery that I have to like carve out, and I cut my finger pretty good the other day because I was carving this out. Still hurts like a bitch. But to not have to clean any, I swore I wasn't going to do any more resin kits, but this isn't really a resin kit. This is like manufactured beauty, you know? I just took notice that this was an ion cannon.
Yeah, they're at the station in front of the Iron Cannon.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's the thing. That's why, when you look at the McQuarrie images, you just get to sit and look, and you notice so many different things.
Yeah. The ice spider, more ice spider. I would kill for Tom to make one of these and a maquette. Did they make a maquette of this? Was there ever a physical maquette outside of Mandalorian?
Outside, I don't believe outside of Mandalorian, no.
No. Okay.
But for Mandalorian, Tony made a great one.
That would be cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I would buy that in a heartbeat. So this is interesting. Kind of like the snowspeeder. Kind of like the troop transport. That's different.
Yeah.
And then you have the normal. Well, it's close. It's more modern. It has the saucer-like body, but then the saucer body has a more can looking. This is the more screen used cockpit. It's kind of a mixture of both.
Yeah.
Very cool.
It's interesting to it reminds me of the what's that show on Disney Plus, Biomes, where it shows them like in their natural habitat. It's interesting to kind of just see them in their own environments. Kind of like when you're driving by and you're seeing horses, right? Just you're seeing the Tauntaun just kind of out in the wild.
This reminds me of that old TV show, The Land That Time Forgot, was it? Where they had, what was it? They had like areas like this that had vegetation under the ice. Am I thinking of the right show? It was when I was young.
I'm not sure. It might have been before my time, but yeah.
It has that like purple looking ape and the smaller one that's like pinkish. I'll have to look it up. It's definitely before your time. I don't know how much I like this B-Wing. Not a fan of the middle part. I like the current B-Wing.
Now this makes me wonder if was this a painting and then the model builders tried to match it as close as they could to the painting. Because there's some significant differences here,
Yeah. That's probable.
Yeah.
That's a possibility where this was the egg before the chicken.
Mm-hmm.
Although I definitely like the current B-Wing a lot more.
Yeah.
This is a beauty.
That's a great one, yeah.
This is a great one. I'm gonna grab my maquette and just show it a little bit. Give it a little love. Hold on. So this is all kit parts. John made this. I think Lee ID'd most of it, right? That's freaking gorgeous. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
It's the only McQuarrie thing I have.
It's not too, other than the paint job, it's not too different from the A-Wing that we know. And that's the thing. It's hard when people talk about the concept A-wing because it's 90% in the paint job that makes it
Yeah.
the concept. But I gotta say, this is the one time where I like the paint job on the concept better than I do the screen.
Oh yeah, it's way better than the screen.
And
It's it's
it's just more fitting. It still has that Star Wars feel, you know. The painting
yeah,
maybe not so much. The painting has that sort of clean Buck Rogers aesthetic to it,
yeah,
but yeah,
yeah. This is it has different guns and different wings. The wings are more squared and the cockpit's a little different, but
yeah.
I love this thing.
But they kept it still pretty close to form.
Yeah, I got it. Don't mind the base. The base is just wood until I figure out how to use my laser cutter, and then I'm gonna make some nice base for it. But yeah, that's a gorgeous one. John did, as usual, an amazing job, and I pried it out of his hands. He must have needed, money for the other cat, one of his other cat's legs or something. So, yeah, this is one of my favorite pictures of the A-wing of McQuarrie's all together. There's a lot of detail in this too.
Yeah, there is. There's a lot of great detail in this. A lot of great color.
Yeah,
And
yellow.
you get to see a little bit more of like soot and engine burn and in flight damage, which you don't see a lot on his paintings, which are very clean.
Yeah, it's very. Yeah, most of his paintings are the ships are very very clean.
Yeah.
In fact, when I did that cloud car, I barely did any weathering whatsoever on it. I love this size, the Tomcat A-wing. You're right, Stuart. Tomcat A-wing. It's a perfect size. I do.
When
I
you did
built.
the Macquarie Cloud Car, that wasn't the larger one, right? That was the Lassie Henning kit.
That was Lassie
Oh,
Hannigan. Yeah,
was it it wasn't okay, so it wasn't the big
Lassie.
huge one. Okay.
Yeah, it was Lassie. No, actually, I think Lassie's is not much smaller. It's a slight bit smaller. Not like the A-wing. The A-wing was a
Significant.
lot
Yeah.
smaller. Yeah. From what I understand, the Cloud Car is pretty close to Lassie's size. A little bigger, but it was still too big for me. It looked like Michael Magic Johnson or Shaquille O'Neal shoes.
Basketball shoe. Yeah.
Yeah, they were humongous. Um,
This is a great image.
yeah, it is. It's an odd image because you don't really. It doesn't show much of it. It shows the back. Like it's kind of a weird image,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not. It's not really
You
the
still,
Cantwell one,
I
is
mean,
it?
it is and it isn't because you still get to
Yeah,
see the bottom gunner cockpit.
yeah, it's a little different.
So this
It's
is
a
when they were still sort of in transition as to what the Y wings are going to look like.
we spent
See, and
how
this
many?
is a Death Star that would be, um, I would say easily replicated, but this is a Death Star that you could build with the proper tones of blue, the coloring, and that opening on top, which has more of a Star Killer base feel to it, with the main opening where the gun comes out.
That would be very cool to build.
Yeah, it'd be a great one, especially where you
I
have
don't.
those slats leading up to the opening gun port, and then all the pieces kind of in
That
syncopation
is.
going around. Yeah,
I like that a lot. I've never
yeah.
taken notice of it before. Um, the Cantwell one, I don't like at all. It looks like it has herpes or something. It's just it's
The
not.
warts. Yeah,
It's genitalia warts or whatever. What do they call them? It looks bad. But this is actually really cool. I'll have to remember that one. I mean, it wouldn't be too hard to even do. Like, just
no,
find
and
some.
it really allows for a lot of great noticeable details. So you know that port in Jedi of the part of the Death Star that's open, it's built in red, that sort of under construction look. I
Yeah,
mean, this
yeah,
is kind of what you have almost in a circular fashion,
yeah.
similar to that. And I think that would be a fun, unique build. And then you have these small little square sort of Airfax looking pieces that go all the way around as well as it extends out. I think it'd be an interesting piece to have.
The what pieces? The Airfix pieces? Is
Well,
that
they're,
what you
they're not
said?
Airfix, but they look like it. They have, they go, yeah,
Yeah,
right there. They just go all the way around.
these here, the star looking thing.
No, and then if you go down from this, yeah, right there, yeah,
Here,
yeah, like the pieces you see in all the costumes, right there, the forks.
I'm not seeing this here.
Yeah, right there. Yeah,
The U-shaped thing.
yep.
It's on the costumes.
Well, not exactly, but it looks like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
looks very
I
close.
this kind of, it kind of gives me the impression that there's an opening all the way straight through, um, to the other side. Like
Hmm.
sort of like the cities in Coruscant. Like where they drop down and they keep going down through the city. This is really cool, actually. I may have to remember that. That'd be a fun one.
Well, yeah, because looking at it, you can already off the top of your head kind of place out like what parts can actually be used for this design.
Yeah, like these look like Panther G parts. Um, yeah, I like this a lot. Hmm. Okay. Um, I'm gonna save that picture too. I'm gonna send myself that picture and look at it more often, more clearly. Uh, this was taken straight from an older movie. What was that called? The
Metropolis.
Metropolis. Yeah, it's so similar.
Mm-hmm.
Except this Metropolis had boobs, right?
It was the female, yes. Yep.
Yeah. And Chopper back here.
Yep.
The old R2D, old R2 concept is actually pretty cool looking. I like that. This I'm not a fan of. Then we saw this one, right?
Well, yeah, but there's a few different variations of that.
Yeah, yeah. This is the one. I don't
That's
have any other.
that's the funny thing, right? Like when you're looking at the Y wing or the Falcon, you don't realize it sometimes. You're like, oh, I mean, I know right now because you know what pictures you saved and what you didn't. But when you're flipping through books or you're looking online, you're like, oh yeah, that's that image. You're like, oh wait, that's not that image. That's completely
Mm-hmm.
because like this is one of the paintings where it wasn't repainted. He completely just repainted the ship over what was there prior to.
Okay.
So whenever it was updated, he just popped in the new one and repainted it, which is
They
great.
were
It's
they were oil paintings, right?
I think I think he worked in a variation of mediums. I would say if he was painting over something like this, it probably would have been acrylic or maybe a mixture of oils and acrylic. But oils take a long time to dry, but they're more pliable and you can work easier with them.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but acrylics would have covered and dried quicker.
I know I keep saying it, but like this and the Sandcrawler, the one and the gas mine that all three of them that Jason Eaton made, he did such a good job on this. I, I, I mean, even down to like the flat um, dish there.
Yeah, the
You
static
know,
dish. Yeah.
yeah, big fan. This little droid here was on Tatooine.
Yes,
Wasn't
it
in
was.
Star Wars.
It was
Yeah,
in Star Wars, correct? Yep.
yeah. And a white a white
Yeah.
sand speeder. And then this Godel here, he's in Rebels a lot. That is one ugly looking Ugnaught.
Hmm. Nice. So it's got the twin suns.
Yeah.
This is another great image. Love this.
See, I look at this and I don't think of McQuarrie. Like I said, it's too photorealistic for him.
Mm-hmm.
I like that he's fantasy looking. This is
Yeah.
like he's trying to emulate Mark Hamill's face.
Well, this, I mean, this came well after this. I mean,
Yeah,
you see Mark Hamill's likeness pretty spot on. You
yeah,
see how they were able to accomplish the, what was it, 60 frames per second shot to make it look like the speeders are going 200 miles an hour.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, this was completely done after the fact, but
McQuarrie might be
it gives that impression though that these speeders are zooming through the forest of Endor.
McQuarrie might be one of the only people who got Luke's likeness pretty close.
Correct? Yeah.
You know, because all the new ones look terrible.
Everybody else butchers it.
We've seen I showed a lot of these.
Now this is one of those things that a lot of people aren't aware of. We talked about this the other day. So many people believe that that one image of the TIE fighter chasing the X-wing down the trench is what it's what you get, right, for the X-wing. But there's actually quite a bit of reference of McQuarrie X-wings, from sketches to studies to paintings, and there's a lot of detail. This is an image that I took, enlarged it, and then brightened it to get a lot of the detail that was in the ship.
I have to take this call. I have to. It's
Yeah, so
an important call. So I'll just let you keep talking about this. What was that thing you were going to talk about before? That picture with them walking down the.
oh yeah, no,
the
it's nothing great. It was just
well, now's a good time for you to talk about it.
nah, it's not it's boring. It wasn't. It's not anything fun for the audience. Yeah,
Why don't
take your
you?
call, man. Take your call.
Okay. All right. You can handle this.
Yeah, I'm good. So yeah, as we're just sitting here waiting, as I mentioned early on, going through these images, McQuarrie is just one of those things that when I look at these images, it's I know a lot of people have a hard time kind of discerning, what they're used to seeing on screen versus what they see in the images. But I always have that fascination of, well, how did they get to that, right? Like, how did they get to this idea with such a strong imagination of different characters, from stormtroopers to droids to villains to heroes? It's like, you don't just come up with one idea and stick with it. It's like, how do you finally come to that perfect recipe of what works and what doesn't? Um, and that was one of the reasons why early on I had developed such a fascination with McQuarrie, and then it was only later that I learned how big of a hand that Joe Johnston had in developing a lot of these concept pieces. And that's another thing. I think that's something that me and Chris might do in the next week or two, something similar to this, where we take a lot of Joe's images and go through his specifically, and kind of see where his mind was at and where his stylistic approach was at, because McQuarrie was leaned on more to be able to present the idea, right? Because if you walk into an office and pitch, hey, I get this villain, he does this, and these heroes, they do that, and whatever, and people are going to be like, you're out of your mind. But if you say, and this is what it's going to look like, then when you have something in the mind's eye to draw a conclusion, it's a little bit easier to wrap up and put in a box and put a bow on it. Where Joe is more along the lines of like, okay, now how do we tell the story cohesively? And being able to merge the two and have them working together as closely as they did, um, I think it'd be great to make that its own separate, discussion,
Yeah,
which would be fun.
his concepts were very different than McQuarrie.
Hmm.
They were totally different. It was totally different aesthetic, totally different look, more like mechanical. Whereas McQuarrie was, fantasy looking. I just want to show this. This is a cool thing.
It's amazing the differences, though. Like McQuarrie definitely was responsible for some matte paintings, and then a lot of the images that we went through for visuals. But Joe was kind of a jack of all trades. He did everything from concept sketch, design, maquette, model building, model painting, costume design, costume painting, storyboard, huge on the storyboards. He did some matte paintings for the Death Star, I think the trench. I mean, it's amazing the amount of things that um, he was able to do and accomplish for getting the visual side of Star Wars to all come together.
Yeah, he had a hand in just about everything. Like
Yeah,
he so many different aspects, like so many different hats while he
yeah.
was involved with Star Wars. You know, just
He was definitely a jack of all trades.
yeah, he was like the most important
And then
outside of.
taking Nilo under his wing for that was, I think, a blessing in disguise, because there was another mind that just was able to, develop some amazing concepts.
This is one of my favorites.
Yeah, so this print exists. Chris, Celebration did I think a series of 4 prints or 6, I can't remember, where it goes from like a concept sketch to the painting. And this is one of them.
This picture here, they did that.
Yeah, this
Huh?
one. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant it was the. I thought you meant it was that one that's hanging up in the background where it's like a blueprint of the Sandcrawler, kind of behind Lauren Peterson. I thought that's the one you were referring to.
Oh yeah, no. I'll see. I'll show it to you. But even
Yeah, let
this, I
me
like
see
how
it.
you see the twin moons, and it's just got that feeling of like dusk, and you know.
Yeah, and even this, you look at it how it's built. Okay, let's take for example this here, like this section right here. It's all wonky and crooked and messed up. You know, it's just like a beat up old ship that's not perfectly made, or drove into a mountain or something. You know what I mean? It's just
Hmm.
so cool. One of my favorites. Have you ever seen them make an actual? I haven't looked. I should say. Like, could I get a print of this?
And you can have one printed up.
Because that's pretty awesome. One of these days, I'll have one of these. One day. You looking for that print? Yeah. So I'm trying to find more pictures to show. I didn't have a lot of time to go ahead and do this.
No, it's been over an hour. It goes by quick, man.
It does.
It's almost
Yeah.
11.
Is it really? I can't stay on much more longer. I have to take care of some stuff before I go before I go to bed. I got to work tomorrow morning. Um, Here we go. Quarry ships. This is another one I wanted to show. It's not showing it. Where is it? Quarry. There it is. Oh, that's a better picture. I really like.
I like getting different perspectives. Like when we talk about that star, and Stuart says more Christmas tree ornament kind of look. And I agree to an extent, but I definitely think it's something that would tickle my fancy to have us, have a stab at building that
Which one? The
star.
the one that we like.
Mm-hmm. The one we were just
Yeah.
looking at. Yeah.
Yeah. These are cool. Couple different looks for sail barge. There's also this look. Where's that picture? There it is.
Yeah, real quick. Here's one of the prints I have right here.
Let me make it bigger. If I can get to it. Oh.
So
Okay.
it's like, because if you, I mean, you can look elsewise, but there's the painting, and I'll show you real quick. Let me get the screen large, and then there's the. I lose it already, but there's one where basically it's just a concept sketch of the crawler itself, so they combine it with the concept sketch and the actual painting of the vehicle. Yeah.
Send me that picture, will you?
Mhm.
I want to see. I want to see that up close. But yeah. I mean, that's. I mean, if do you have anything else you want to talk about with this, or
No, I just thought it'd be nice to just go with some images and chat all McQuarrie and
this is cool?
remembrance of McQuarrie. It's another thing too that I think this is weird, but you can take me off the large screen. That I collected over the years was just images and reference of things that were never made, and there's a lot of products, McQuarrie things that were in development but never actually came to fruition. They never got executed, and some fantastic ones and ones that I was always put off by that were never made, and I wish they were. Where Sideshow had done a few of the 6 scale in McQuarrie form, um, and they were really well done. I think there's some images floating around online, but I have a whole folder of the Vader like in completion, and then also like broken down into parts and segments and things like that. And I would have really loved to see those. Um,
Never say never.
make it. Yeah, they ended up. That's where the statues ended up coming from. That those got canceled out, and then they ended up doing the 3 statues.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's good. It's almost 11 o'clock. I just kind of want to talk about what's coming up. We have a guest coming, special guest, next week, a week from tomorrow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't want to say who it is yet, but should be a very interesting one. I think a lot of people are going to like it a lot. And we also need to do Empire Chronicles.
Yep.
Yes, that was a great one. And next time, no looking at the book ahead of time. Talk about what's on screen. Not you, but the other two. They were on
Yeah, they popped their. I made it a point to go through it in real time. They both popped their books open, and they were looking more at the book than they were at the screen.
Yeah, they were way ahead talking about.
I mean, I get why you get caught up in it.
Yeah,
but
you get excited, but like they jumped ahead a little bit. I'm like, guys, stick with the program. But yeah, we're gonna be doing those both next week. They'll be morning ones, so we can get John on.
yeah,
And
they'll be
Marvin.
early.
And oh, you know what? They may not be next week. Thursday is the only day I might have available. Maybe Friday. For the Chronicles, we'll see. Because I work all week long. I work Monday through Wednesday, so that's not all week. But thanks for joining us, guys. I know it's just a quick little thing, and not too many people are joining in. There's 12, but it's still fun to talk about. And
Yeah.
we haven't had Shooting the Ships in a while. I've been kind of busy. And our schedules haven't really worked out to do it yet. So, but we got more stuff coming up, and you guys had group therapy not too long last week, so that's not this week. That's next week.
Correct.
And I'll be having some build videos coming. I have the Sandcrawler build video that's coming, and another build video coming as well that you had a major part in. And we'll go into that more when we get there. We'll talk about it after. We'll talk about it after I release it. So that should be in like 2 weeks, I think, because you keep adding more work for me to do on it. So,
Gotta do it right, brother.
you gotta do it right. I didn't even think about doing that. I didn't even think about putting the fiber. I haven't done fiber optics on a model since Slave One. It's been a long time.
Yeah, that's true.
It's the last time I did fiber optics. Yeah. I did fiber optics on all three, my Sandcrawler, my Falcon, and my Slave One, and then after that I didn't do any more. Where can I get high-res pics of Ralph's artwork?
All over the internet. It's out
everywhere.
there. Yeah, and just honestly, go on Amazon or Abe's Books and just buy the Art of Ralph McQuarrie, the two
Hell
book
yeah.
set. You can't go wrong.
Is,
it's such an amazing asset to have.
That is so worth it. And every now and then on Amazon, it's on sale for, I don't know, $75, something like that.
Yeah, it drops
$100.
down
It
to like
goes,
$80 or $100 or something.
yeah, it's real cheap. And it's 2 huge books, like this thick, like an inch and a quarter thick. And they're like, I don't know, 16 inches by 18 inches. They're big, and they're really well made, glossy paper, and there's a lot of pictures in there that you haven't seen on the internet. I can't recommend that enough. If you have any interest in McQuarrie, get that book. The it comes in a box, right? It comes in the box, 2 books in a box.
Yep, the velvet
So
box. Yeah,
yeah, so worth
beautiful.
it. Yeah, it's beautiful, and you could look at it for hours. It's, keep going back. So check it out, Joe Nava 12. All right, guys, thanks for joining us. Stuart and Justin are still there, and I didn't even see some of Justin's comments. We will try to make as many as we can. Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm all for it. So, all right, night, guys. Thank you. Man, you just take care of that.